like to follow up with some more NFL football because it's never too early, never too often to talk NFL football, and specifically the Denver Broncos. We had Pete Prisco on the program a few weeks ago, and he's one of our favorite guests and one of my favorite people in the country, and one of the best in terms of how he covers the NFL and has done it for a long time. Pete has just put out his first ranking of the year of NFL teams, and he does it throughout the course of the year. So why did he choose now? I don't know. He didn't have any vacation left and probably did it. But who would be number one in your mind? Well, New England. What a shock that is. The Patriots did win the Super Bowl. Who would be number two? Well, this won't shock you either. Seattle. The Seahawks were one stupid, idiotic, ridiculous, ludicrous, brain-dead play away from winning the Super Bowl. They would probably be number one, the Seahawks would be, if indeed they hadn't messed that up. Who's number three? Glad you asked. Green Bay Packers. That makes sense. That's two NFC teams, one Super Bowl champion. Who's number four? Now this is going to shock you. Would you have guessed this? I don't think so. The Dallas Cowboys. Really? They lost the number one running back in the league. There have been questions about what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do. Is that based on they think they're going to get Adrian Peterson? They think that Jerry Jones is suddenly going to have one more cosmetic surgery and become brilliant as a result of doing that? Who is number five? This one surprised me. This also surprised me. Number four, Dallas. Number five, the Denver Broncos. And you go, well, why should that surprise you? I said yesterday, I think the window is getting closer to closing than it is to getting wide open again. I would have put the team that beat the Broncos in the playoffs up there with all of everybody heralding what the Indianapolis Colts, I thought. But the Colts were picked number 8, and Pete's not so sure that the Colts have done enough, and he still likes the opportunity of Peyton Manning. So what is your pick? How would you rank them? I would put New England number 1. I think the Patriots deserve it. Seattle number 2, in spite of them not deserving it because they blew it. Green Bay Packers, yeah, I'm with it. The Dallas Cowboys, no. So who would I pick number 4? I would think the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens came closer than anybody, I think, other than Seattle in beating New England and doing it in New England. I would put them. I think Baltimore Ravens, even without Gary Kubiak, are going to come back. Would I pick the Broncos next? I'm just not certain till I see more. I think it's too early because I keep coming back to thinking how many new coaches have won Super Bowls. Think about that. We discussed that one day with Pete Prisco, and we came up with Barry Switzer and the Dallas Cowboys took over from Joe, who was the coach?
Jimmy Johnson.
I was going to say Jimmy Johnson. And I think it's happened only 2 or 3 times that fresh coaches, George Seifert took over for Bill Walsh in San Francisco. May have happened one other time. But it's very rare that a coach, and particularly almost an entirely new staff, comes in. How many times has it been done with a 39-year-old quarterback? None that I can remember. There was one with the Miami Dolphins who was a backup who kind of led the Dolphins through the season, but it was Bob Greasy who returned to be with the team as the number 1 quarterback in the Super Bowl. I just think it's going to be difficult until we get an opportunity to see, and it's going to probably take 5 or 6 games. And people are saying, 5 or 6 games? I don't think we'll really know. But I wouldn't put the Broncos at number 5 right now. It's hard to believe that the Broncos, who a year ago you would have thought was number 1 or number 2, would fall that far, but it was 2 years ago that they were considered number 1 by everybody. I would have thought they would be around 8th, behind Baltimore and behind at least the Indianapolis Colts. So I want you to think about this. You've got plenty of time to think about it. The season's still a long way away. We haven't even had the draft draft. We're just now seeing some OTAs, and the Broncos did get a break because when you have a new coach, you can greet and meet your coach and learn his systems earlier than teams that are having the same quarterback and coach coming back. It's odd that we just talked about the Chicago Bears. They're also getting to meet early, and the first decision that John Fox and Adam Gase apparently have reached is they don't like Cutler any more than the rest of us do. And they're trying their best to figure out how to get him off that team. Talk about a guy who just wasted. We talk about guys in prison wasting their ability. Here's a guy that's wasted that golden arm that he said at one time. He sat here in front of me and Les and several other people and said, "This arm is stronger and better than John Elway's." That was really a good idea to come into Denver and make that statement. Why don't you prove it first? Anyway, so the rundown again. New England, Seattle. You can't disagree with those choices. Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. Packers have done some nice stuff during the offseason. And number 4, the Dallas Cowboys. They got to prove it to me. They got to prove it up to people in Dallas. I think they got to prove it to themselves. The Broncos, number 5, a little bit overrated. I just think they belong probably, and maybe it's good for them to go into the season as an underdog, maybe even in their own division. Maybe people should be picking the San Diego Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe that would motivate them. Emmanuel Sanders is trying to do his best to motivate them by saying Super Bowl or bust. Well, that's the truth again this year. Is it going to be Super Bowl or bust? Sitting here right now, I would say bust. Let's see what happens. Thank you, Pete. For Pete's sake, I'm Woody Paige, and that's my opinion.